Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on our webinar. We're excited to talk to you about how Actian is helping to make customer experience easier. You can go to the next slide. So to get us started, I just wanted to, if you're not familiar with Actian, we have been in the data business for over 50 years. So we were there essentially when data was born. And our mission is really to help our customers connect, manage, and analyze the data that they need to be successful and to make business decisions in real time. So today I'm joined by, my name is Tracy Curran. I am the Director of Product Marketing here at Actian, and I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Becky Staker. Becky is in charge of Actian's CX program, and Omar Ali. He's going to be here just to answer any of those technical questions that come up. I'll come back in a few minutes to tell you about one of our customer successes. And until then, Becky, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Tracy. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today for the Make Data Easy Customer Experience webinar. We're really excited to have you here to learn more about Actian, but also customer experience and some of the challenges I'm sure you all are facing in this, what we call the new normal today. My name is Becky Staker. I'm the VP of Customer Experience. A little bit about me. I joined Actian about 5 months ago, and my role is actually to look at our entire customer journey and help identify those moments of opportunity to really improve that customer experience overall. So really excited to be speaking to you all today. I think a lot of the content will probably resonate with a lot of you. I would love to hear from you as a follow-up from today. If you have any questions after the fact, please reach out to me. My email address is on the screen. So certainly happy to answer any questions or connect after the webinar as well. To give you a little bit of a review of what we will talk about today and what you will learn, I'm going to kind of level set on what you're all facing today, what we're all challenged with as CX leaders, or those of you that support CX as an initiative in your company, is what we're calling the new normal for customer analytics. So we'll talk a little bit about how the world's changed that you're all living in today and give you a pretty good foundation of where we see the opportunities for you as well as CX leaders. Now we'll kind of parlay into our next topic around what are the opportunities, right? How can you actually leverage customer data to be more strategic in your business, and how do you bring all that data together? And then we'll focus on the how and focus a little bit on about what we're doing here at Actian from a CX perspective, but also walk you through some of the use cases and opportunities for you to be thinking about and how you think about these data opportunities to help better serve your customers. So first, we'll talk about what we're calling the new normal. And we're all in this position. If you think about the last few years, such a dramatic change and transformation across our personal lives, our professional lives, business transformation, acceleration of digital technologies. Digital transformation has been a big theme. And ultimately, it's around the power and empowering our customers, right, to be our greatest advocates for our business. And so this has create a bit of disruption for all of us, right, in terms of the services we offer our clients, the products that really need to meet the needs of the market demands, and how we're all shifting even new ways of working around this new normal in our reality. And so you've all seen the headlines, right? So many different trends over the last few years, from geopolitical events, from obviously COVID, health scares, the Great Recession. There's so many changes happening all at once, and so we're trying to really understand, the shifts in the landscape. But also, it's become harder than ever from a customer experience perspective and operational excellence to really meet those moments and opportunities and make the best out of it, right? Find new ways to service our customers. Their expectations are changing in this changing environment. And so how we as CX leaders have been challenged is also looking for those opportunities to even do it a little bit better, right, than we were doing before. But all of that is, really empowering ourselves to be more data-driven as an organization and CX leadership, but just also help our customers and deliver the best experience possible for them. So no doubt you're all living and breathing in this world today, as we all are, and certainly has been a disruption and also a shift in kind of how we work today. And so we think about the opportunity around data. There's so much data being collected around this new normal, right, around our customers. And this is a really hard journey for a lot of us, right? It's hard to understand where to maximize the opportunities in that data, but also, it does exist in different areas. So we all know it can be siloed data, right? Maybe there's too much data, too many sources. How do you even grasp the amount of data that's possible around your customer journey? And so that silos, can be challenging for all of us. But it's not just access to the data, it's also the integrity of the data, the quality of that data. Sometimes it's incomplete, right? Or you need to append other data, right, to make that more complete. And then also, how do you integrate that data, right? And that can require extensive skills, but also those access issues. How do you get the data together into one single pane of view? Single pane of glass is what we call it, to make the most out of that data. And it can be very expensive as well. There's also data usage, right? So the people that are leveraging that data to make the most strategic business decisions, sometimes they can't access that data, or maybe it's not in a way that's meaningful for them, right? Maybe some of your frontline employees, right? Maybe servicing directly with your customers. We want to make that meaningful and with context for them to help better serve your customers, but also give them the data when they need it at the right moments. And then, of course, all of this it takes time and effort, right? It can be very manual. Sometimes there's spreadsheets. You're having to enter data from many different sources. And so it can just be a lot of time wasted in how you're pulling this data together to make those more meaningful insights. And then really importantly, especially in the last few years, is it's not just about the data that you have and bringing that together. It has to be real time. Yesterday's data may not be good enough. Yes, a couple hours ago's data may not be good enough. We have to be responsive in real time and meet the customer in that moment where they're at and really understand their opportunity. As you think about this journey that it takes to really understand the customer journey, right, and all the different data and touch points around that journey, sometimes we get to a place where that impacts business, right? And based on different studies, 56% of business leaders don't trust their data, right? Because this is a hard journey for us to go through. And that can result in impact to the business, such as lost revenue. So what we're seeing is just a better way to understand that customer perspective around these different touch points and the data that's pulling this together, and really finding a way to make that easy, right? To bring that data in and have a more flexible environment to be responsive in real time in other areas. And our leadership, revenue marketing leaders and anyone that really serves the customer, they need that control of the data. They need to empower their teams. They need to make strategic business decisions. They need to forecast and predict in real time, or optimize, or again, find those moments of opportunity where they can meet that customer in that moment or the business in that moment. And so the end in mind is you're allowing this opportunity to bring the data together to better understand the customer behavior to help your organizational goals. That's ultimately what we're trying to do. And also your opportunity as leaders in your businesses to help bring this together to make those more strategic business decisions, again, in real time. And so the challenge of getting this unified data set or view of your customers is not easy, right? We've talked about there's so many different factors that lead into that. And we talked about also it can be a resource strain. We spend a lot of time formatting, understanding the data, querying the data, accessing the data, right? Reporting the data. But is it accurate? Is it timely, right? And so we think about this opportunity, but also the struggles we have to connect the dots around these different data sources. And I know you're all familiar with probably a lot of the ones on the screen here. You're bringing in data sets across different platforms that may exist in different functional areas. And we as leaders want to bring that together into a singular view to really understand that opportunity, but also, maximize these applications that we do use, right? Maximize their value and really look at that upstream opportunity within the business. So what we're trying to do is bring this together into a holistic view. And again, that single pane of glass. And these silos do exist in very common applications. And, you may have a modern driven organization that already have these in place, but they're not always available despite integrations within the applications. Sometimes you can't unify this data easily, right? For many different factors. Sometimes the applications don't necessarily have API or access to different fields that you're going to need, right? Making more intelligent decisions. And so we think about this opportunity, it's really finding an easy way to access the data from these different application sources or different formats, such as flat files, right? Or other data sources, maybe you're appending to that data set to really understand your customer better. And this is also beyond CRM data, right? You actually want to bring in that holistic view of that customer, including the CRM, right? To really look at that single pane of glass of your customer and the 360 opportunity to really view their 360 behavior within your organization. And so we talked a lot about challenges for sure. We've all lived and breathed these experiences, but I always view this as opportunities. We as CX leaders have an opportunity to make it a bigger impact with our organization, to provide that data back to the business, back to the front lines, back to our customers, to help them understand how they leverage our product and services, and ultimately how we can make better decisions as CX stakeholders for the business. And so what are some of those opportunities that would be possible for you? Well, first of all, let's also take the time to understand where the opportunities are. So Acting conducted a survey back in the fall of over 450 senior leaders about their data analytics journey. And so we had a pretty cross representation of respondents between different functional areas, different levels. But one of the things that came up is a very much a key trend across a lot of different survey questions around use cases, around opportunities, and also the challenges is that customer 360 view of the data. The impact of the customer experience also is one of the key drivers around cloud migration. Because of this siloed existence, right? People are trying to understand, how do we move this to the cloud to make this a more connected experience, a connected data set, so we can make better decisions. And by far, the top leading use case was that customer 360. So the point here is, it's not just you thinking about this, it's actually your colleagues across the different functional areas. And we clearly heard that across business, IT, data analytics, and also sub-functional areas. This is a very important moment for the business to understand that customer data to, again, make those real-time decisions. And measuring success of those initiatives through KPIs was also cited one of the top positive impacts for leveraging this data. So it's very relevant. Business leaders are talking about it. I'm sure you're in many conversations talking about it as well, as how can we bring these connected data sets together to, again, help better inform our customer experience. So some of the most common projects that we hear across our customer base, and I'm sure you're all involved with today, customer and marketing analytics projects. If we think about the customer journey, right, as a journey, a map, if you will, we've got really 3 high-level stages. You're taking the time to acquire that ideal customer, right? Understanding the profiles, unifying the customer data, right? Trying to find customers that are like those customers like you have today. Having clean data, right, from a MarTech perspective or a CRM data, and also doing segmentation analysis on top of that data. And so what you're trying to do is create that ideal customer profile that you can in turn acquire and attract the right types of customers coming in through your funnel. And that's the very early stage of the journey. And a lot of projects that support that. And then you actually have a customer, you retain them, right? So taking the time to understand their onboarding journey, what's important to them, their needs, their use cases, knowing your customer, how do you line that to success in their business, of why they engage with your product or service. That also leads to loyalty analysis, right? How do you understand what keeps them sticky and loyal to your business? How do you create advocates, right? How do you do account scoring model, right? What's their churn predictor, for example, or likelihood to churn? Personas, are you really strong in certain areas, maybe a certain persona, but maybe not so much in the area that you need to do more research around? Lots of opportunity, a lot of projects around that whole retention of that customer journey. And then ultimately, it's about expanding the business with your customers, right? Being successful around your product or services that you can in turn retain them, but also expand the business together. So understanding cross-sell opportunities. Maybe there's a new feature or a new service you're offering that would better serve that customer long-term. And ultimately, how do you automate some of this to make this a more digital, frictionless customer experience over time, so they get these actionable touch points along the customer journey? And so over time, that also becomes new data sets that'll help inform that customer opportunity long-term. There's a lot of projects, right? And so you think about a lot of the power and the data behind some of these areas. It's a tremendous opportunity for us as leaders to really connect the story here on the customer journey and really know your customer from a 360 point of view. And so just a very quick architecture diagram. I promise you won't have too many of these in this presentation, but just to give you a bit of a visual, right, of how this journey is possible from a customer profile to a segmentation perspective, what we call is a unification model to really build that consolidated customer profile. And again, the data comes from many different sources. It's like we talked about: CRM, account information, transaction information, purchase information, lifestyle trends, household information. So this could be various sources of data, even append data, right? Or maybe social media data through social media KPIs or APIs, and whatnot. And so there's also different types of data, but also different access points, right? Potentially you have APIs, webhooks, right? Flat files, database connections, right? So there's many different ways to access that data. And then you need to enrich that data, right? And find a place to actually bring it together to combine and load that data into a single view and query that data, understand the data quality of that data, right? And to really maximize the data opportunity. And then you need to take time to analyze that data, which is that third stage here. So duplications, right? Do you dupe a lot of the data you've already got, right? Or join different data sets that make sense, right? Maybe for different segmentation purposes. identify common keywords, right? So essentially what we're doing here is we're connecting these different data points to creating an ideal customer profile. And that's really the opportunity for us as leaders, is to holistically bring together these points and really make more meaningful insights from the information that's coming to us. And so finally, here is what ultimately we're trying to do here as CX leader, is to use this data to improve business outcomes. And so the first opportunity is to get access to that data and unify it, provide that single unified view so you can at least understand the opportunities around segmentation, opportunities, revenue opportunities, et cetera, to really understand the opportunity you have within that data set. That's just the first step. The next step is actually to use that data to create more personalization within that data, right, within your customers. How do we tailor their experience? How do we personalize their interactions with them? How do we make that a frictionless experiences as well? So understanding their needs and what drives them and their behaviors, and making that a very personal and relevant experience to our customers. And a lot of that can be possible through unifying your data as a first step. And in turn, our other outcome is around loyalty. End of the day, our roles are to help provide a delightful experience for our customers. They in turn become our biggest advocates. And so we want to be able to track their loyalty over time and reward that loyalty, right? Understand their loyalty, understand the next set of use cases, for example, of working with that customer. So ultimately, as leaders, this is what we aspire to get to, right? To best serve our business and serve our customers. We need to understand the data opportunities, make that a personalized experience, and make it so delightful that they will in turn be loyal to our brand moving forward. And so this all sounds great, right? It sounds easy. Well, there are ways to make it easy. So we'll talk through pretty high level today of how we're thinking about customer experience here at Actian. Like I mentioned, I'm brand new, but I also want to ground this into real use cases that I, as a CX leader, I'm also trying to make this easy for my team and also my cross-functional peers. So a bit of a story about Actian and then our journey today, and then how we're also leveraging Avalanche to actually make this an easier experience for customer experience. As I mentioned, I'm new, joined about 5 months ago, and we actually have a very important program to us around our CX initiatives. That's very important, that we want to track almost like a micro journey for these customers or prospective customers that are coming in. And so we've taken the time to understand what their needs are, right? What makes that a delightful experience for them, but also what are the metrics? What are the different data sets where we actually can track that data from when they first come in through the funnel all the way through the very end of that journey. And today, honestly, it's spreadsheets, right? We're actually going through our own journey of transformation to make that an easier experience for our internal teams so we can better understand the opportunities for these prospective customers and the specific experience. So one of the things we're doing is actually using Avalanche to connect all these different data sets. We've got 5 different applications that we're pulling data from today. So we're taking the time to really understand what are those key KPIs that are most important to the business that we want to connect that story to around these particular customers. And then ultimately, what's the data that's important to understand the signals, right? And when things are maybe working or not. And ultimately, how do we start to automate that data so we can spend more time making actions on the data, driving insights versus trying to update the data or find ways to connect it or at least analyze it. So we're in this journey as well. And we're trying to also work towards making this easier from our own perspective. And so like I mentioned, we're on the journey, but there are easier ways that you can also, like we're doing today, make this an easier experience for you all going through trying to find these opportunities, but also to connect all the different silo data that you may have in your systems of record today. So I'll talk through a little bit about that. And essentially what we do is we look at a concept called the Customer Data Analytics Hub. That's our goal, is you want to create a hub that brings and unifies the data together. Essentially, you can access, integrate, enrich the data, whatever the data you do have, that actually creates the opportunity to explore and unify that data. That's the first step, right? Is finding a hub concept where we actually can bring this data together. Once you have the unification together around the hub, then you would in turn apply some visualization, forecast, actionability from that data, much like what I just described that we're going through today, right? So we've created a bit of a hub strategy, connecting all the data together, understanding the data opportunities, and now we're in the position of understanding that data to a point where we actually can forecast, right? We can actually set targets. We can automate the data in a way that's more actionable. And over time, as you continue this process, ultimately you want to optimize that. You want to understand the signals and be able to pivot or make changes based on what you're seeing in the data and the behavior there. your journey can be the same. It's a very common process and something that, we also see our customers going through. A very common stage is this. Again, accessing the right data, bringing it together from a unification standpoint, taking action on that data, and ultimately optimizing that data over time. And so how do you do this, right? How do you get started and make this easier for you? So I'll break down a bit of an overview of our customer data analytics hub, which is powered by our Avalanche Cloud Data Platform. Bit of an eye chart, so I thought I'd break it down and at least kind of walk you through how we think about this. So what this hub does is enable what we call a single pane of glass, right, for accessing the right sources of data to integrate them and automate them. Again, these come from various sources: Salesforce, Marketo examples, Snowflake, your own applications, your homegrown applications that maybe you've developed internally. And so what the goal is here is, regardless of where the data lives, right? It could live in many different formats or other applications or files, flat files as well. Our goal is to help you integrate that in an easy to use experience. And that's really that first step. It's what we call Avalanche integration, which is built into our Avalanche platform. And then the next is actually taking that to the next step, right? Transforming that data, synchronizing the data, automating certain aspects, hopefully, of that data as much as possible. Deduping, right? Looking at data quality is a key measure, right? Building statistical models on top of that data, maybe some predictive analysis that you may already have in other applications you want to connect that data. And so what we're trying to do here is actually enrich that data, unify the data, but also start to create kind of those key opportunities for further analysis, which is really that last stage around what we call BI and analytics. And a lot of you may have tools already today: Looker, Power BI, Tableau, maybe a homegrown, tool that you've developed. The great thing is you actually can connect directly to those different BI applications. And on top of that, layer on your analytics, right, on top of the data. So if you've already got an existing templates, right, and we have templates as well for our customers just to help you get started, right? We allow you in the platform to connect those applications directly, so you're not having to log into multiple accounts. You have a single pane of view with the data connected, enriched, but ultimately the visualization on top of that. And so these are just some examples and high-level screenshots of the types of tools we work with, just to give you a visual perspective. And I'll show you a little bit more here in a few minutes. But this is really the 3 stages of the journey of actually creating that unified view. And again, having that customer 360 view of the data. And so to show you just a couple of quick screenshots, these are actually Power BI dashboards that I just wanted to share with you all of what's possible, right? I always like to start with the end of mind. What's possible, what we actually can we do when we bring all this data together. So this is one of our templates we do have around, it's a Power BI dashboard around a data quality monitor. And so the example here is we've actually brought in, this is actually, anonymized data, but it actually is real customer data that we brought in. But we've actually integrated Salesforce, SalesLoft, and Marketo in a specific screenshot here today. And so as you can see here, we've actually created a couple different views for you to understand your data quality. First of all, how many records do we have, right? And how do we understand the quality of those records? How many are distinct, right? Are unique records? What's the data quality index, right? How much quality do we have overall, right? And how do we index against what we could, improve that quality over time? So we give you different measures such as completeness, uniqueness, integrity, accuracy, and validity to help you understand where do we need to go spend some more time, most likely, to go optimize that data, but at least gives you a pretty good snapshot of where you stand today. So in this case, we see that completeness and uniqueness has some areas of opportunity for us to go understand, what's missing from that data. Maybe we have incomplete records, or we don't have enough unique information about that one customer. Now we have an opportunity for us to go understand that, right? So it gives you a pretty good high level of what's possible within your own data set. And again, we're pulling in 3 different data sets into this specific example. That's the first step, right? That's just understanding where your data is today. But ultimately, how do we analyze that data? What's an easy way to pull this data together and analyze it from a strategic perspective? And so another view is what we call our customer analytics view, right? And so again, pulling from very similar applications I just mentioned on the previous screen, Salesforce, SalesLoft, and Marketo. And now we have an opportunity to look at that more from an analytics point of view and understand, okay, how many contacts do we have? How many leads? How many total companies do we actually have from an analytics perspective that we can actually go analyze a bit deeper? right? And in our model, like how many territories do they represent? So a very nice visual for you as a leader, but also your leadership team to understand the current state of your data and your customers, to be able to go a little bit deeper into whether the areas of opportunity are. So just a quick visual of kind of what it could look like, what's possible. That's just a Power BI example. We have many more templates and examples for sure we could show, but hopefully this gives you a pretty good understanding of the end in mind, right? When we get the data connected, what's potentially what it could look like. And so from a platform perspective, it's pretty easy in Avalanche to actually connect this together. There's really 3 steps. So this is our Avalanche platform. And one of the first steps you would take is actually to create a warehouse, right? So actually to get your warehouse, essentially it's a cloud-based data set, right? Or data holding place, if you will, just to simplify it, where you can actually store a lot of your data to be able to pull down the data that makes the most sense for you. So creating the warehouse is that first step. And then you want to load that data, right? And that's where that integration comes into play. So either set up an integration within Salesforce, enter in your credentials, right? And you may have different access levels where you actually can pull in different fields from Salesforce, for example, or Marketo, or load a file such as a flat file, right? So we give you flexibility in the types of data that you would want to load here, but that would be that second step as part of the Avalanche process. And the third is what we just talked through, right? Performing the analytics. So this is starting to connect your BI applications, maybe use Looker, right? Or maybe Tableau is your preferred choice for BI tooling. So that's where after you've done the earlier steps, you can start to connect that BI application to create some of those dashboards that we just walked through. So it's 3 steps to get started in the Avalanche platform. And then as you start to get more into integrations and managing your warehouse, we give you a nice visual at the very bottom of a summary of which warehouses are running, which ones may have stopped. You may not want to be running your warehouse all the time, maybe only on demand or when needed. So this will give you a nice visual of kind of the current status, if you will, of the different warehouses. How many integrations that you have currently today. Maybe some have failed and you need to go reintegrate that data. So it just gives you a nice visualization of where your data set stands. And then finally, I'll end on here just from an overview of the product. This is just a very simple view of our connections. So I mentioned Power BI, right, is an opportunity to connect to a Power BI dashboard on this screen. It's really a few steps and you're ready to get started, right? So connect to which warehouse you want to connect it to, which connector, and ultimately, build out that dashboard as an additional step. And so I'll kind of end here to kind of wrap it all together. What we've learned today is the world's changing, right? There's really a need to be more real time in our data and how we respond to our business, to our customers' needs. We need an easier way to make this more data driven and also be real time, right? We also need a single view to bring the data together to be more actionable. And ultimately, we want to get to a place where we've got that single view that anyone can access that information, ideally to your front lines, those serving your customers or your IT counterparts, right? You really need to really bring this together so multiple stakeholders can leverage the data to their own ability for their own business areas. So thank you for your time today. I'm actually going to turn over to Tracy, who's going to wrap up this here, and then we'll open up for questions.
Thanks, Becky. Okay, this is my favorite part where we talk about our customers. So the AA, or the Automobile Association, they're actually the largest roadside assistance company in the UK. So for our viewers that might be stateside, you probably think of AAA when you think about roadside assistance. So the AA was a Vector user. Vector is our on-prem data warehouse, and they knew that they needed to go to the cloud, get to the cloud in order to have the scale that they needed to grow their business. One of the things that they really wanted to do was to get into the home and auto insurance space. So to do that, they needed to be able to give real-time quotes to potential customers via an aggregator. So you might think of NerdWallet or some Zebra, so whenever you go out there and you want to shop for new insurance and get better rates, theirs was confused.com. So a lot of folks that are looking for new insurance would go to confused.com and get a bunch of different quotes. So in order for them to actually be able to use this as a sales channel, they needed to make sure that they were able to bring together and analyze a lot of data very quickly. The way that confused.com works, you must be able to give a quote within 2 seconds, or else you kind of show up below the fold. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of data that you need to be able to analyze before you can give a customer a quote. So that could be driver data, policy data, risk, fraud data. So they decided to come to us, and we talked to them about Avalanche. So they're actually one of our earliest customers on the Avalanche platform. So they were able to actually pull in all of their data, and now they're able to give those quotes to their customers via confused.com and other places in sub-second responses. So they're really looking at milliseconds to deliver those quotes. And because of that, they've been able to actually sign up 550,000 at last count new policyholders in the last 4 years. So 500,000 users now have AA insurance because they're able to deliver quotes via the confused.com portal. In addition, they also wanted to be sure that they could get all of this data that was happening online out to the data scientists who need it. These are the folks that are creating the risk profiles and helping to determine what rates should go to which customers. So they also are using Avalanche for that. They are able to give self-service access to the Avalanche platform to their users, their data scientists, their pricing teams, and those teams are able to actually go in and self-serve, get the data that they need, pull it into the dashboards that they've created within their BI tools, and they're able to do additional modeling so that they're always making sure that they're looking at all the new data that's coming in, not only to give quotes but also to push out reports to their executives and to other stakeholders within the organization. So. And one of the reasons that they chose Avalanche to do this is because they needed high concurrency. So Avalanche actually gets faster the more users you have on. So they were able to get the concurrency that they needed without having to sacrifice on performance. So that was a big win for us. And they're a great customer. Encourage you to go out to the website. There's a video where they're telling their story. I think it's a worthwhile view. But if you have any questions, certainly get back to myself or Becky. Do we have any questions on the chat? Let's see.
Yeah, I think we should open for Q&A. I just want to mention we have a free trial of our product. If you go to acting.com, you can starting today, and you literally can get started within minutes, within hours, right? So it gives you the ability to, with no credit card required, start integrating your data, right? Start trying out the Avalanche platform, and let us know what you think as well. Also, let me know what you think, right? That's one of the key initiatives that's really important to us, is that free trial is hopefully easy to use, right? And something that's really flexible for you to really understand what's possible in Avalanche platform. So please feel free to check it out. But yeah, Tracy, let's see if there's any questions from the group today.
Yeah, I see some questions here. I'd like to jump in real quick and answer them. They're pertaining particularly to Avalanche. So one question that came in, they're asking, what are the methods you use to connect to different applications to Avalanche? So firstly, we have actually several methods that we can connect different applications to Avalanche. Firstly, we have over about 200 pre-built connectors to different applications that you're able to leverage to connect to Avalanche. If the application isn't part of our 200 pre-built connectors, you can actually use the application's API to connect to Avalanche. And if for whatever reason those two options aren't available, you can actually leverage ODBC and JDBC connectivity to connect those different applications to Avalanche, giving you probably the most flexibility to connect practically any applications that we have to Avalanche. The second question I'd like to take that came in is asking about security. They're asking here, can you provide the steps that you take to ensure security in the cloud? It's a great question here. So here at Actian, we actually continuously adapt to the best practices to ensure secure cloud computing. For example, we have an Avalanche, we follow strict policies that enables us to be SOC 2 compliant. In Avalanche, we also provide kind of like a high-level overview, disk-level data encryption in transit and rest, dynamic data masking, And we also have whitelisting capabilities, which whitelists IPs that allows certain features as well as database authentication.
Great. Thank you, Omar, for taking those questions. Do we have any other questions today? I think there's only 2 that came in, so we'll wait another couple of seconds or so. If there's any additional questions, we'll be happy to answer those. If not, please reach out. We also would be happy to answer those questions as well through email.
All right, I think that's it. All right, thank you everybody for attending. We hope you found value in this webinar. Thank you, Becky, Omar, for co-presenting. Hope everybody has a great rest of the day.